Russ Ernst. I'm the Executive Vice President of Products and Technology at Blancco Technology Group. Blancco is known in the ITAD industry as really the industry leaders of data erasure solutions. We've been in the industry for over 20 years, and we provide many software solutions to help streamline the ITAD operations, as well as data sanitization solutions. The ITAD industry has gone through a bit of a shakeup this year, with one major ITAD leaving the industry. But a larger trend in the ITAD industry is really around the increased awareness of data security policies with the enterprises. And these are going to start to roll into the ITADs themselves. So I really see this as an opportunity for ITADs to start to educate back into the enterprises themselves. Blancco just released a marketing study this week called The False Sense of Security, which goes into a lot more detail into the different types of security policies that enterprises have to work with. So this is an opportunity for ITADs to lead that kind of education back into the enterprises to help them with that. ITADs can help ensure they're meeting the security needs of their clients by really doing what they've done best all throughout the years, is they partner with their enterprise customers to figure out what those requirements are up front. But with all the changing policies that are going on in the enterprises due to the increase in data security policies driven by GDPR and the upcoming California Consumer Privacy Act that takes effect January 1st next year, this is an opportunity for ITADs to continue to increase that education back into the enterprise. ITADs are responsible for a lot of different industry standards. The ones that are most well known are ADISA or NAID or eStewards or R2. But more importantly, ITADs need to be aware of the industry standards that their customers have to be beholden to, such as HIPAA or PCI DSS. Blancco can really help out by providing these certified data erasure reports. These are auditable reports for all those different assets that the ITADs are processing, and really help their customers be compliant with those standards. Increasingly, enterprise customers are more interested in meeting these CSR goals and being more compliant with environmental concerns. ITADs have always driven some responsibility around that by finding a new market for these types of goods. But in our report, we found that 17% of our enterprise customers still use a physical destruction as a technique to get rid of these assets. So again, with increased education, ITADs can drive some knowledge about software data erasure solutions and help to decrease the amount of e-waste. So ITADs really need to focus in on doing what they do best and then use that as a differentiator. And the best way they can do that truly is to partner with their customers. And instead of just listening to an RFP and answering an RFP, ITADs really should listen to their customers to figure out their true needs and then answer those needs. And again, Blancco has some incredible solutions that they can help the ITADs help to achieve those needs. Processing new technologies is a new and exciting opportunity for ITADs. With all the trends with edge computing and IoT, there's a dramatic increase in the number of devices. But keep in mind, too, that ITADs, their real customer is the enterprise. So when you think about these edge computing or IoT devices, it's more important about where the data is being stored. And traditionally now, it's about the data being stored in the data center. So ITADs have more of an opportunity to address those data storage needs and erasure needs in the data center itself. Zero waste should always be a goal in the electronic space, but there will always be some assets that will have to be physically destroyed based off the type of information that's on there, highly classified information. But in most cases, all enterprises should consider a software data erasure solution prior to even data physical destruction, just based off of the new laboratory techniques that are always coming up with trying to pull data off of those physically destroyed assets. Blancco fits right in the middle of all these different topics in terms of addressing the enterprise data erasure needs, as well as the ITAD's needs to provide pure data sanitization on those assets before they reach a new life in a new market. Blancco has a full suite of software solutions. We do offer some services, we offer some hardware where necessary, but realistically, we want to solve your software needs around processing those assets, having the most efficient process, and then having a certified erasure on those assets. Yeah, the shift in the questions from the C-suite enterprise are really about data security and less about physical asset security. Physical asset security has been around for a long time. The real opportunity there for ITADs is in going back to the enterprise and saying, when was the last time your security compliance standards were updated? Because maybe they were based off of an old DoD 3-pass, and now there are more secure methods around a NIST purge or a NIST clear that they should be aware of. Blancco comes into play with insurance in a couple different ways. First off, we have some direct insurance customers in terms of trying to validate that an insured asset is really truly what they expected it to be. So we have some, specifically on the mobile device side for insurance, we have some innovative technology around fraud prevention, around cracked glass detection, and those types of technologies. But addressing some insurance needs specifically for liability concerns with ITADs, again, by providing an auditable report, it really helps them out with their insurance needs. The biggest shift I've seen in the ITAD space is really in the types of assets that the enterprises are consuming. We're seeing enterprises move away from traditional laptops or desktops, starting to take in more types of what could be considered IoT devices, or even having mobile devices come in through a BYOD policy. You're also seeing the data from an enterprise being pushed up into the cloud, which is really being stored in a data center somewhere. So these are all impacts to the ITAD industry and the types of assets they're getting back. High volume loose drives coming back from enterprise data centers, and then also new different types of devices, be they laptops, tablets, mobile devices, or even Chromebooks in some cases. I mean, it's an interesting question about how enterprises are maintaining some data on-prem versus up in the cloud. From an ITAD perspective, it's still important to maintain that direct relationship with the enterprise. And some of the anecdotal evidence that we've seen from our enterprise customers, upwards of 40% of the data they will keep on-prem all the time. And although enterprises are pushing a lot of data to the cloud, really, whether that's to their own hosted data centers or to an off-prem hosted data center, there's still a need for the ITADs to go back and interface with those enterprise customers to be able to service their assets as they reach end of life. It's also an opportunity for ITADs to work with new channels, whether it be direct co-hosted data centers or even other large data centers. Yeah, the impact from 5G for the ITADs will probably not be as large as it would be on the more pure mobile processors. So we're seeing, and we're following this very closely, that we expect to see a large influx of devices reach the secondhand market once 5G really takes off. We're probably maybe the tail end of 2020. We're going to see some increase in devices from 5G, which means that customers will be returning older devices to be able to afford these new 5G devices, which of course are going to start above the $1,000 price point. So it's really this influx of new devices from 5G that's going to impact the secondary mobile market. Maybe not as much of an impact to the ITAD market, unless you're seeing a large number of enterprises that are migrating to use 5G devices. A bigger impact with 5G to the enterprise will be in these types of data sensors that the enterprises will be using. And depending on what types of appliances those are for data collection through 5G, that's an opportunity for ITADs to go in and service that type of equipment. Not so much mobile devices, but industry 5G. My overall impression of the ITAD Summit in Scottsdale is that it's a worthwhile event, very successful event. I think there's a lot of challenges, but a lot of opportunities for ITADs that are out there. Again, with some industry consolidation or with some industry players leaving the space, a lot of opportunity for ITADs to make a difference and show what they do best, and that's all evident here at the ITAD Summit. One benefit of an up-and-coming company coming to an event like this is to really get to know some of the industry players. There's a great mix of industry players here, long-standing ITAD veterans, and also some new upstarts. So it's a great opportunity for new players to get to know the industry. If I was to get all the ITADs together, it would be something similar to what we've done at Blancco in terms of working with some industry players more on the mobile space. We've seen this than on the traditional ITAD space in trying to come up with consistent grading standards, for example. One impact, I think, to the ITADs will be in this shift away from traditional IT assets. They're going to start to see more assets that look like mobile devices, tablets, those types of things, and to have a more consistent grading standard for those types of devices would be very important. Another thing I would think is interesting to the ITADs is to have a lot more familiarity with the new data security standards that are coming out that the enterprises are going to be beholden to. And again, it's an opportunity for the ITADs to drive that type of thought leadership. Again, with this recent report that Blancco just released this year, what we found is that 96% of enterprises have a data security policy, but 36% of the enterprises use an unsecure method for erasing their assets. So again, that could be with physical destruction or with a way of not having an auditable report on those assets. And this is, again, is a way for ITADs to drive that type of thought leadership back into the enterprise.